So WWE Clash in Paris is in the books, as is WWE's time putting on major premium live events on Peacock. On to the $30 a month era with ESPN. Is it called Plus? I don't know what it's called. In any event, this is WrestleJuice. The long form podcast review is already available over at the Going In Raw podcast channel, youtube.com/Steven Larson. But I'm here for your hot takes and your cold takes, your obvious takes, your middle of the road takes, your reactions. Let's go ahead and dive right into them. First up from Andrew Sanderson, this has to lead to an AJ Lee return. Of course, I'm assuming Andrew Sanderson. Andrew Sanderson is referring to Becky Lynch seemingly joining the Vision with her hubby, Seth Rollins. I noticed a lot of sort of different reactions to this. It seems to be kind of like polarizing story angle here. I really do hope that Becky Lynch joins the Vision and this isn't just like a one-time I'm going to help you out Seth thing, because the idea of this version of Becky Lynch interacting with the other members of the Vision, I think can bring kind of a spark. I think it was a good night for the Vision. I think Bronson Reed, yes, he lost to Roman Reigns, but I kind of feel like the bigger deal there was him and Braun Breaker attacking Roman Reigns afterwards, actually coming off like kind of a dangerous duo there, especially when they were backstage and Adam Pearce was yelling at him and Bronson Reed had that crazy look in his face and he was clapping back at Adam Pearce. I thought that was really well done. I thought it actually helped Bronson Reed a lot. I think a win probably would have helped him even more if you add on that other stuff as well. But I think it was a good night for the Vision. Now, let's address the actual hot take here. The idea that this could lead to an AJ Lee return. If you were to pay attention to Twitter, yeah, they all kind of think that's going to happen as well. Even Sean Ross Sapp, I point over here because my phone is over here. Sean Ross Sapp isn't over here. This is my desk. Even Sean Ross Sapp has a report on Fightful that says there have been pitches for AJ Lee, and maybe, just maybe, this is indicative that the WWE is going to bring back AJ Lee and they're going to have like a mixed tag match. Maybe it's to just be like a one-off for her, see how she likes being around, and maybe after that she'll stick around. Who knows? I know a lot of people want to see that. I have a different, less interesting theory that maybe, just maybe, given that October 11th, we've got Crown Jewel Perth coming up. If they're going to have kind of a problem here, because clearly, like, the idea that everybody has, I was going to do a mixed tag match, right? Seth and Becky versus CM Punk and AJ Lee. I wonder if, though, because they're going to be in Perth, if the crowd would be okay with CM Punk and Rhea Ripley versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out tomorrow on Raw. If CM Punk shows up and the crowd starts demanding AJ Lee, WWE might have written themselves into a bit of a corner if they don't actually have AJ Lee like signed to a contract right now. If she's like, I don't really want to do that. And they're like, well, shit, the crowd really wants to see it. And AJ and I, we were going to do Rhea because we got the Crown Jewel Perth thing coming up. And that could be our main event there. So I don't know. I'm looking at the roster as it stands right now. And I know Rhea Ripley has like some Io Sky stuff going on. But that, like, I don't know. I feel like she can leave that alone while Io deals with Asuka and Kairi. And then Rhea can team up with Punk in Perth. I think it's a possibility. They're all in the same brand. Otherwise, yeah. If it's not that, it's got to be AJ Lee, because there's really nobody else that makes sense if the idea is to do a mixed tag match. But so, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully they got her on a contract. If they don't, they really better start, working on that, because the crowd is going to expect it at this point. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Next up, the Heat is on 76 says heel Becky and Seth will work out far better than the failed face run together in 2019. Yet another shitty angle back in 2019. Remember, WWE was the absolute worst in 2019. Vince had no idea what he was doing. And that team up was really, really bad. Although it did give us Baron Corbin giving Becky Lynch an end of days. don't know why. That was actually pretty cool. But yeah, it was really kind of cringy. It was kind of secondhand embarrassment watching them on screen together. Didn't work. This was much better. Becky Lynch taking the title between her legs and swinging it over CM Punk's body, doing the Kyle O'Reilly guitaring on the title. I think Becky's doing terrific work right now as a bad guy. Just really, really good work. The match with Nikki Bella tonight, rough in some spots, but I kind of feel like Becky did what she could to make that a good match. And I think a mixed tag situation with her and Seth against CM Punk and, I don't know, whoever, AJ Ripley, I think could be an interesting one. Let's see here. Next up, we've got the real TJP who says, I'm going to be highly disappointed if it's CM Punk and Nikki Bella over CM Punk and AJ Lee versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. I don't think it would be Nikki Bella. She doesn't really have much of a claim at this point, right? Like, there just doesn't really fit. And I'm not necessarily saying, like, you know, Rhea fits in the story, but Rhea fits in Perth, at least, because, you know, it's in Australia. So, yeah, I feel like Nikki Bella really doesn't have a reason to team with CM Punk because, you know, she had her shot tonight against Becky Lynch and she lost. And I don't know, maybe Rhea Ripley's thinking, hey, I really want that world title back, but I've always had, you know, beef with Becky Lynch. They're sort of positioning that Becky Lynch Intercontinental Championship as like the 1B title to the World Championship being 1A, especially depending on who ends up winning that vacated title. If it's Stephanie Vaquer or, I don't know, Roxanne Perez, I suppose if they want a reliable hand, they could put it in Io or Rhea's hands. But, you know, Becky Lynch in that title, that's a big, big deal. Like, that's on par with whoever wins the World Championship. Cole L says Bronson 100% should have won, with Roman only working once every 4 months. It's like CM Punk once said, who's the one showing up to work tomorrow? Yeah, this isn't a terrible point, but at the same time, like, you still want to use Roman losses sparingly. Yes, Bronson Reed absolutely could have used this win against Roman Reigns. Who couldn't use a win against Roman Reigns? That's a big, big deal. But it seems like Bronson Reed was still able to get a lot out of this loss because they did the thing afterwards with the big beatdown. I do think that Bronson and Braun Breaker should go after the Raw tag titles, though, so that everybody in the Vision would now have some gold. But I think Bronson Reed, just in general, feuding with Roman Reigns, the Shula Fala stuff, the Tribal Thief stuff, I think it's done wonders for him. And maybe the idea right now is, hey, Roman Reigns was, you know, main eventing WrestleMania this year and, like, you know, the night twos of years past. So a little too early for him to pick up a win over Roman Reigns. You don't want to start jobbing out Roman Reigns to everybody right now. Guy's still Roman Reigns, you know. I don't know how it's going to be. If he comes back and he has a solo thing with Braun Breaker, that's the kind of thing Roman Reigns probably should lose. Because it feels like Braun Breaker, they're looking at him and being like the future Mr. WrestleMania. So we'll see how that works out. Jonathan Hernandez says Cena versus AJ in Paris would have been the loudest crowd reaction of the year. I mean, they were pretty loud tonight. That crowd was pretty off the hook tonight for the Cena Logan Paul match. And they did a killer job. We got a couple of hot takes over here from that as well. Mike of all trades is absolutely stunned by the performance of Logan Paul and John Cena tonight. My match of the night for sure. Yeah, it was mine too. It was mine too. I thought this was an absolutely killer match. And you guys know I've been loath to give any compliments towards Logan Paul. But my God, this match was phenomenal. It was really, really good. And, you know, I don't exactly know what story John Cena had in mind. But he was busting out a bunch of finishers from opponents of his past. Notably, the Styles Clash and the End of Days, right? Logan Paul held up his end of the bargain. It was like a 22, 26-minute match. It was like a 26-minute match. Killer match. Really loved it. Thought it was awesome. And I like the idea that maybe it's John Cena's telling Logan Paul, hey, you can pick whatever bag of moves that you want to grab from other wrestlers and put it in a bag. You can do that and be wrestler guy. I can do that too. And I've got the history with a lot of great wrestlers to do that. And yeah, I'm sort of throwing Baron Corbin in there. But I kind of like that he had some shout outs to some of his rivalries of the past for this match. I thought that was really cool. The match was off the hook. It was great. And I kind of feel like this This crowd reaction right here was as loud as it was going to get. It was really loud. The Matty Poo 21 says heel Cena should have never happened. VKM was right. Imagine a babyface Cena this entire year and the great matches that we could have had during Cena's retirement tour. You know, he could have had great matches as a bad guy too. I feel like this is one of those cases where it has nothing to do, the match quality has nothing to do with Cena being a good guy or a bad guy. I feel like the execution of the heel turn was great, but the writing behind the rest of it and the match philosophy behind the rest of it was dog shit. I don't know why they elected not to have good matches between the heel turn and then the SummerSlam match with Cody, which was phenomenal, by the way. But that's just the decision they came to. They decided to do a certain match at WrestleMania, and that certain match was crap. So it was obvious he's been capable of so much more, and they could have gone that route and told the compelling story as a bad guy as well. They could have had it all. This has nothing to do with Vince McMahon being right about never turning John Cena heel. That's not the lesson to take from this. The lesson to take from this is you can't really beat a good match. If you're like, hey, go out there, put on a fast-paced, really cool storytelling match. Whether you're a good guy, you're a bad guy, you can go out there and just absolutely floor the crowd. I think that you can do that. You can totally write a good story behind that. It's just, for whatever reason, that didn't happen. Maybe we'll find out on next season of Unreal. I don't know. Tay Sosa says maybe it's almost time to put a world title on Logan Paul. Whoa, back up. Let's not. Paradox 3000 says Clash in Paris stage is better than WrestleMania and SummerSlam stages. Whoa, hold on. Yeah, no, nothing beats WrestleMania stage, man. Every year the WrestleMania stage is outstanding. They have not had very many misses as of late. I forget what was the other one he said? The SummerSlam stage? That was just last. I don't really care about that. This is a really cool stage. It was a huge arena. Even the drone shots look pretty all right. Yeah, the stage was great. It had like the giant Eiffel Tower there in the middle. They need more cool. They should have actually erected like a practical Eiffel Tower. That would have been cool. Warrior of Troy says my match of the night was Rusev and Sheamus. They absolutely tore the house down. Big, meaty men slapping meat. Yeah, I thought the second half of that match was outstanding. Once they actually brought the Donnybrook stuff into the Donnybrook match, I thought it was awesome. The first half of the match was sort of just like normal, no DQ match or a weapons match. But once they got on top of the barrels and they made good use of the Donnybrook aspect of the Donnybrook match, I thought this was absolutely phenomenal. I wish the whole match was kind of like that, but the first half of it was kind of not that. Warped says a 4-hour premium live event for 6 matches doesn't cut it. It'll be interesting to see if WWE, given that they're going to be asking fans to pay now $30 a month for this ESPN stuff if they already have cable, if they're going to be pumping up the number of matches in their shows. This one had 6 matches. It was 4 hours long. The first match basically took up the entire first hour because they did all the stuff at the end and it just sucked everything. They got a lot of advertisements. They got a lot of video packages. Entrances are really long. I do feel like they should just cut out a lot of the fat. You don't need, if you're going to do a video package, make it a really well done storytelling one. I know advertisements are a thing, but man, we're going to be paying a bunch of money. And ESPN, I guess, has to get their money back on these advertisements. But goddamn. Yeah, I don't know. Not into it. There's not enough substance for these things to be 4 hours. And that's the thing, there's a difference between the AEW, you pay $50 a month. Man, oh man, they go from one match to the other match, to the other match, to the other match. You get all that substance. You get all that meat. No filler. WWE, if they're going to be charging $30 a month and they're going to be bumping it up to 6 or 7 matches a card, you got to get rid of the fat. I just want the subs. I want the protein. I just want the straight up meat, please. Triple H, King of Kings, says Roman Reigns always getting almost killed before leaving for 2 months gets old. Yeah, maybe they can come up with a new reason why Roman Reigns has to leave. Just straight up be like, hey, Bronson Reed, this is the last match before I'm going to take an extended break to go shoot a movie. So you better make good use of my time. That's a good promo. You could do that one. And then the match ends and he's like, all right, I got to go to Hollywood now. Street Fighter movie is calling me. Just keep it real. We don't need the fake, he gets a bunch of tsunamis and he's gone for 2 months. No, man. Just keep it real. Bronson Reed. A lot of money on this Hollywood deal of mine. So let's wrap things up here. How about it? Charlie Black says they can't make me care about the Wyatt Six. They could make me care about the Wyatt Six. They just don't really write it that way for me to care. There was a brief period of time when I did care about the Wyatt Six. That was a long time ago. And I like that they're the tag champions. But the whole thing with the Street Profits was weird. Like Bo shows up on SmackDown and he's like, hey man, you guys are not going to be brothers anymore when we beat you. And then like they started acting like they hated each other at the beginning of this match. And then 5 minutes in, they stopped doing that. Yeah, that was some weird storytelling there. That was weird. Wilson Simmons says these crowds are just annoying. They're not trying to get themselves wrestlers or wrestling over. They're trying to get themselves over. They're only chanting after everything so they can hear, oh, wow, what a great crowd from people that didn't actually watch the show and had to listen to them for 3 hours. In my opinion, NXT TakeOver crowds were peak and what every crowd should aspire to be. The crowd is what made takeovers feel like takeovers, which is why it suffered so much during the pandemic. Even though they made the show, they weren't the best thing about the show. The best thing in wrestling show on the wrestlers, you have a problem. Damn, Wilson. Crowd's just having a good time. They're enjoying themselves, man. They're having a good time there. All right, why are you hating on that? Rascal Holden says, true love won tonight. And isn't that the most important lesson? Well, not if that Wilson guy is to be believed. Boy, he hated that crowd. What was up with that Wilson guy? They're just a French crowd trying to have a good time, man. Relax. Yeah, true love. Good for Becky Lynch. Good for Seth Rollins. Then he said, let's go back to the hotel. Well, he's not going to go get some dinner first? Not going to go to a fancy restaurant? Anyways, that's going to do it for the show. Do me a solid. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the notify bell. Till next time, we'll see you guys around.